Welcome to Focal Point News, your source for campus news, breaking headlines, and in-depth stories that matter. Coming up on Focal Point.
I just wish that our politicians would find a way to find, a way to settle this.
It's also sometimes just a fact of recognizing humanity as a fellow human being.
Also just a nice break to kind of like shift gears and do something different while also still working towards the mission.
It's just like missing, talking even to my grandparents face to face.
From the heart of Michigan State University, Focal Point starts right now.
Good morning and welcome back to Focal Point News. I'm Ava Moschette.
And I'm Maddie McCarter. It's November 21st, 2025, and we are back for our final show of the year.
It's been a great semester covering news from all around mid-Michigan, and we're definitely going to miss it.
But for now, we bring you local headlines that matter to you, starting in Lansing.
Those planning to travel for the holidays might be relieved to know that Monday, the FAA lifted shutdown-imposed flight restrictions at 40 major U.S. airports. These restrictions are lifted just in time for Thanksgiving, but with Congress's next funding deadline already looming in January, questions now surround long-term solutions. Focal Point's Sonia Crone has the local perspective over at the Capital Region International Airport.
The government shutdown had ripple effects on airports across the country, as federal workers have gone weeks without pay.
There are 55 TSA and FAA employees here at the local airport in Lansing who too have been affected by the government shutdown. The airport made an effort to support these employees by raising money in the community and providing lunches and gas gift cards. And a spokesperson tells me staffing here at LAN has remained normal throughout the entire duration of the government shutdown. However, as it's something that is managed by federal agencies directly, they currently do not have any information regarding their back pay and when they can expect their first paycheck.
Amidst restrictions on commercial flights at 40 major airports across the country, even some local passengers felt the effects, like Nikki Robinson, who had to postpone her trip after her flight out of Lansing was delayed.
Because if I go to Washington, D.C., I miss my flight there to go to Birmingham. So they explained to me what different options I have.
And with everyday life being impacted, some travelers have grown increasingly frustrated over the policy debates in Washington, D.C.
I just wish that our politicians would find a way to find a way to settle this, putting their political belief systems aside and thinking about the people that they're serving in our country.
Because despite flight reductions now lifted, the bill passed to reopen the government is just a temporary fix, as Congress's next funding deadline is approaching on January 30th.
If they are still going to allow the drastic increase, this being the Donald Trump and the Republican who run House and Senate are going to allow the health care increases to decimate families, then maybe another shutdown is needed to show that it's just unacceptable.
While representatives of the Ingham County Republican Party did not respond to an interview request, the chair of the local Democratic Party, Brian Jackson, says the solution comes down to the ballot box.
That's where it's going to be fixed in the long term. These are all just Band-Aids on a cycle that's getting more and more being pushed.
With another potential shutdown on the horizon, the group Airlines for America is calling for a long-term solution, imploring Congress to ensure future funding bills do not allow aviation to become collateral damage in Washington's policy debates. At Lansing Airport, some passengers remain hopeful for a deal by January.
Yeah, I hope that they can come to a consensus very quickly because that is, just 2 months away. So, hopefully we can get through holidays and they can have some reconciliation before then.
For now, air travel can resume normal operations. In Lansing, clear skies ahead for Thanksgiving travels. I'm Sonia Crone, Focal Point News.
So even though this deal to reopen the government funded some agencies through September of 2026, Congress still needs to pass the remainder of its annual appropriations bills, or another short-term extension, before January 30th to avoid another shutdown. If they don't succeed, travelers might once again see effects on air travel.
Now that the shutdown is over, Thanksgiving Day travel should be smooth, but not everyone can travel home for the holidays. Here's Focal Point's Jack David, who spoke with international students about their holiday plans.
As students from all across this country and honestly all across the entire globe. And with Thanksgiving coming up, I know it'll be hard to tell because of the rain behind me, but with that coming up, a lot of MSU students will go home to visit family. But what do international students do?
Well, it did feel really empty because there were really nobody on around campus.
Senior Katie Chu, who's from Vietnam, has her plans.
That we do kind of like a Friendsgiving dinner will be hosted in kind of like a Wednesday night before the Thanksgiving thing.
Chu realized early on in her time at MSU that Thanksgiving break can make it really hard to have reliable food.
In my first year, I didn't know that the dining hall was closed, so I got order online, but then all of the restaurants nearby the campus are all closed, and I was really struggling to actually find food.
Other international students, like freshman Eduardo Sarmiento from Bolivia, have their own plans.
So I'm planning to go to, visit my uncle in Seattle, Washington, and, just share the time I have in Thanksgiving with him.
But most international students don't have that luxury that Sarmiento has. Getting homesick is a very real thing that a lot of MSU students can relate to.
It's just like missing, I don't know, talking even to my grandparents face to face, eating with them, just even bothering my brother, just all those types of things.
From Focal Point News, I'm Jack David.
If you're traveling for the holidays, stay safe. But with it being the holiday season, the weather dropped to the point where the state issued a warning for the people of mid-Michigan.
Yeah, the first code blue of this winter season was issued last week. It's over now, but as temperatures continue to drop, local shelters say the need for support is growing. For some, winter isn't just about the weather. Sometimes it's about survival. Focal Point's Meg Vandermark has the story.
With winter settling into the Lansing area, more people are looking for warm spaces.
While code blue might actually be more likely thought of as winter is here.
For people who normally stay outside in warmer weather, the shift into winter brings new challenges, whether or not they choose to use shelters.
We don't want to complain because we're alive. Thank God that we're alive.
Alex spends his days focused on what he calls distractions, sharing and making art for people in the community.
I design things, you know what I mean? I make it look like royalty, you know what I mean? Or get me a white t-shirt and I'll make your name on it with roses and everything.
As temperatures continue to drop, local agencies remind that even small items can have a big impact.
It's also sometimes just a fact of recognizing humanity as a fellow human being and having a little grace for people who are struggling in situations, because if you don't have a home, you're not necessarily going to be bubbling over with joy and peace.
What we gotta do is love each other. That's the key.
Shelters tell me it's items as small as this that can make the biggest impact on someone who's displaced during winter months. While that first code blue warning has passed, more are expected. These alerts extend shelter hours, add beds, and get people to safer warming spaces. For Focal Point News, I'm Meg Vandermark.
So, local shelters like the City Rescue Mission are counting on community members for support. If you want to help out, you can visit their website.
While that first code blue is over now, it is still a reminder that winter is upon us.
And conditions cold enough to prompt another code blue are still possible. Here to give us a closer look at our forecast is Focal Point's Liam Clymer over at the Weather Wall. Liam, is some colder weather upon us?
Thanks, Maddie and Ava. Good morning, Spartans. Happy Friday. I hope our broadcast is finding you somewhere cozy because in true Michigan fashion, cold weather is making its way through the Great Lakes state as we finish out November. Yet, it's not as chilly as you might expect. I'll break it down for you in our 7-day forecast in just a moment, but for now, we'll take a look at temps across the country to best prepare you for a week of holiday travel. Taking a peek at our national map, temperatures over on the West Coast are looking pretty typical, if not just a touch cool for this time of the year. With Sacramento at 61 degrees, Los Angeles at 62, and moving north, things are looking chilly even for Seattle's trademark dreary weather, clocking in at 52. Working our way east, we're seeing slightly higher temperatures in places like Phoenix at 64, and even cooler ones at Denver at 49. Back home in the Midwest, temperatures are a bit higher than what we saw during this time last year. Minneapolis at 46, Chicago at 48, and oddly, temps are warmer in Detroit at 51 degrees. As for the East Coast, we're once again seeing temperatures that are average for this time of year in the region, with New York at 53, 71 for Charleston, and Portland at 46 degrees. Moving on to our regional map, we're seeing consistent temperatures in the low 50s and mid-40s throughout the Midwest. Green Bay is at 46 and it's 48 over in Chicago. And in Grand Rapids, it's 48 and Michigan's at 51 degrees. That's a touch warmer than we typically see in the Midwest around the end of November. Now, certainly a good time to start unpacking your sweaters so they'll be on hand when temperatures truly start to drop. Now, let's dive into our 7-day outlook here in East Lansing. The rest of today is looking slightly mild with some wind gusts. It'll be partly cloudy with an expected high of 49 and a low of 34. Once the sun sets, the weekend and Monday are looking similar with highs in the low 50s and high 40s and lows in the 30s. But come Tuesday, things take a turn for the colder. We're looking at a high of 54 and 42 degrees as our low, with evening showers that carry on into the morning. So be sure to snag an umbrella as you leave for work on Wednesday. Temps continue to drop on Wednesday as we move through with a high of 45 and lows dipping into the 30s. And on Turkey Day itself, the temperatures make their way to the lowest they've been all week. Layer up, because our high for the day is 35 with a low of 28 degrees. But it's not all bad news though. I don't know about you folks at home, but I, for one, see cold weather as an excuse to load up on more Thanksgiving sides to keep warm. Have a relaxing holiday weekend, Spartans. And since we're on the topic, Maddie and Ava, what's your favorite holiday dish?
Aw, thanks, Liam. Man, it's hard to pick just one.
Mashed potatoes.
I don't know, Maddie. You can't be too picky on Thanksgiving. I mean, I like to have a little bit of everything.
Well, while Miss Diplomat over here tries to figure out her favorite, we have to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere.
Coming up, stimulus checks from Washington, D.C. What will it take to distribute them?
A new juvenile detention center is in the works in Lansing.
And Zohran Mamdani's mayoral election and the local impact right here in mid-Michigan. Right, all that and more right after the break.
It's not just a helmet, it's a symbol of pride, forged from grit, sacrifice, and strength, proudly resting on the shoulders of warriors, steeped in history, but focused on the future, inspiring the belief that this year could be the year, proudly boasting battle scars and badges of achievement, rising high to victory. So come on, strap in, ball out, and fan up, because this is big.
Welcome back to Focal Point News.
Still ahead, a sports preview for the weekend and a local collaboration raises money for our community.
But first, the city of East Lansing warns residents about a fake invoice scam they recently became aware of. And city leaders urge community members to be on the lookout for some typical elements that go into detecting a scam.
They want residents to verify important information before making a payment. They encourage verifying the email address of the sender, noticing unusual payment instructions, and checking the invoice itself for any spelling errors or formatting issues.
If you notice anything suspicious, verify the invoice by calling the City of Lansing before clicking any links. You can see their phone number on your screen now, or find it at cityofeastlansing.com. In other news, the Ingham County Board has approved the construction of a new juvenile detention facility in South Lansing. Focal Point's Griffith Makrovich has the details.
This empty plot of Ingham County land behind me is destined to become the new juvenile detention facility, a $62.5 million venture destined to hold up to 24 youths.
The decision was made to replace the current overcrowded and outdated Ingham County Probate Center.
Our youth center is old. I mean, it's the same building that was there when I was there. It was probably 20 years old when I was there, which was 30 years ago.
I spoke with Michael Lynn Jr., a former Lansing firefighter and current gun violence interventionist, to learn about the importance of nurturing our youth.
At the Lansing Empowerment Network, we work on all the upstream issues that drive gun violence. So anything that would be a precursor to gun violence happening, we try to work to mitigate those so the gun violence doesn't happen. So preventative measures, but in a wider framework than just gun violence. So housing, poverty, education, jobs, all of those things.
Michael himself has been through the Ingham County juvie system and educates the community on its impact.
And it was the first moment that I actually had to sit down and feel safe for the most part. I was out in the streets heavy. I didn't know if I was really going to make it day to day. So it's the first place I was able to sit down, get 3 square meals a day in years, and just really have an intentional focus on my rehabilitation.
Michael rehabilitated from juvenile delinquent to becoming a hero in the community as a Lansing firefighter.
Back when I was in the youth center, there was tons of programs and placement centers all over the country that youth could go to for violent crimes, and we don't have those anymore today. So yeah, for those reasons, I'm a supporter of the new space.
While Michael is in full support of the new facility, he doesn't want South Lansing to be cast as an area where kids are likely to commit violent crime.
Which is just a defeated mindset. If that was even true, which I don't believe, but if it was even true today, that we're not going to build some permanency for the next 50 years based on what our climate is right now in this moment, especially given the fact that we and everybody else is working their butts off to keep kids out of there. And we're doing really well with that initiative. And then on top of that fact, the majority of kids in the south side of town are going to school every day and getting jobs and playing sports and doing what they're supposed to do. Anybody who's in, who believes in human rights and who believes in prison reform will say, hey, I'm 100% on board for that. And so take the dollar amount out and take the impact that happens, right? Again, for anybody who cares about human rights and conditions that, people are living in, then this is a no-brainer. The dollar amount wouldn't matter. I mean, we throw billions of dollars at things that don't matter at all. And so I can't tell you how many highways that we've redone for $400 million and so on and so forth. And here we're talking about something that's going to give kids a better chance at life.
For Focal Point News, I'm Griffin Makrovich, reporting.
Construction on the new facility is set to begin in January of 2027 and be completed the following year.
Now in news from Washington, D.C., President Trump pushes a new proposal to give Americans in low-income households a $2,000 tariff rebate check, and the funding would come from tariff revenue. The White House says the president is committed to the plan, but the details are still developing. The administration says these checks could go out as early as the middle of next year, but the plan would require congressional approval. So the $2,000 tariff dividend remains a proposal for now, with more questions to be answered about funding, execution, and its impact on the economy. Here's what one MSU student had to say about it.
I think that he likes to promise a lot of things to a lot of people, and this might just be him trying to get back in the public's eye as like, oh, he's trying to do something good. It would be great to give away $2,000 or however much you said, but I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. So.
In a post on Truth Social from earlier this month, President Trump also said the leftover money from this tariff revenue will go towards paying the national debt. But nothing is set in stone yet. There's still some questions to be addressed.
Now, looking to the left, American Muslim Zohran Mamdani recently won the New York City mayoral election. With New York City's policies setting the country's standards, eyes will be on Mamdani's turn as the mayor. Focal Point's Jackie Graham spoke to the East Lansing community members to get their perspective on New York City's first Muslim mayor.
Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani.
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 He wins the election and actually has over 50% of the vote. So
So then to have a Muslim mayor in New York City, I still can't wrap my mind around it. You know, it's a big shock to me as an American Muslim. More and more people kind of recognize that Muslims are just like human beings. You know, they mess up, they do good things, they do bad things. They're like anybody else. They're human beings, they're people. As long as they're interacting with me and they're not thinking about my identity. But once the identity thing comes up, and I'll never forget it, she goes, "Wait, you're Muslim?" And she looked at me like I was a monster. You know, it was just so weird.
Seeing some of the Islamophobia coming from the top-level media sources.
The name is Mamdani, M-A-M-D-A-N-I. You should learn how to say it because
a little bit concerning because American Muslims want the same thing that everybody else wants. Obviously, any politician is going to deal with things in the press, things in the media that are, you know, trying to push to see where they go. To see somebody run on a platform that I think would have been widely popular, not just here in Lansing, but across Michigan, win, gives, I think, a lot of hope for what we're going to see in the next rounds. He listened to New Yorkers and ran a really successful campaign, obviously. He still won.
Love you too, thank you.
Because his policies were what the people were actually asking for. And his identity, while it's inspiring maybe for people here, it's not the reason that he won.
the future is in our hands. My friends, we have toppled a political dynasty.
Come January 1st, 2026, Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani officially takes office. New Yorkers will have to wait and see what changes Mamdani's policies will bring.
And it's that time again for another quick break, but we'll be right back.
Still ahead, Focal Point's Ryan Morris gives us a behind-the-scenes look at the Engineering Center.
We'll dive into some sports with Focal Point's Jack David over in the newsroom, and then we'll take a look at some local community resources. We'll be right back.
Not just a helmet, it's a crown of champions, past, present, and future. An indestructible symbol of pride, forged over more than a century of grit, sacrifice, and strength. Proudly resting on the shoulders of Trojans, Spartans, Knights, and other warriors, steeped in history, but focused on the future. Inspiring the belief that this year could be the year. Weathering any storm, hitting like thunder, moving like lightning. Proudly boasting battle scars and badges of achievement. Colors changing like the seasons, unifying in purpose. Unstoppable force meets immovable object. Rising high to victory, enduring chasms of defeat. And if the gridiron planets align, reaching the summit and being crowned legends forever. So come on, strap in, ball out, and fan up, because this is big.
Welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us.
We've been here in the studio for quite a while now, so let's send it over to Focal Point's Ryan Morris.
He's at the Engineering Center on campus, where a group of engineers have been hard at work on a racing project. We want all of the details.
Thank you, Ava and Maddie. I'm outside the William A. Demmer Engineering Center, where the Formula team builds the car in-house. But before I get into it, let me catch you up to speed.
At Michigan State University, students in the Formula Racing team aren't just studying engineering, they're living it. They're building a Formula-style race car almost entirely from scratch, and this year, the pressure is higher than ever.
Right now, we're just getting towards the end of the design cycle, so a lot of it is going to be computer design, CAD work. That's all being done right now, and then very soon, actually as we get into December, we'll shift to manufacturing.
Nathan helps manage the team as they move from digital design into full manufacturing, machining metal, molding carbon fiber, and wiring the car's entire electrical system by hand. This year brought a new challenge, the team's first fully electric race car.
This is our first successful electric vehicle. We just transitioned, we started the process the year 2023 to 2024. We didn't quite get it done in time. There was a lot of troubleshooting issues we had to figure out. And then this past season, 24-25, we were able to finally get a car almost right before comp. It was very close.
For students, the long nights and high stakes aren't just pressure, they're preparation.
As an electrical engineer myself, I had to stay late nights to kind of know what the trouble was and kind of find the solution on how to fix it.
The Formula team is given $300,000 from the university's an operating budget, and they work right out of here, the William A. Demmer Engineering Center, where they turn dreams to reality. Working from digital space to real space, I got the privilege to see the fruits of their labor in a test drive over at the MSU Pavilion. With a chosen driver, they put their work to the test and the pedal to the metal.
It's been an unbelievable feeling so far. Obviously, I haven't gotten to compete yet, as this is my first year as a driver, but just being a competition and now getting to drive the car, it's a pretty unreal feeling that we put this together with our hands, and we built 85% of it by ourselves.
And for many students, like electrical engineer Hyuga Jozaki, the moment the car first came to life made all the work worth it.
The day that the car first ran was the most awarding part. All of our hard work kind of paid off, and just kind of seeing the car.
From computers to carbon fiber, Michigan State's Formula Racing team continues to come together to make something exceptional. In East Lansing, I'm Ryan Morris, Focal Point News. I'm here with Nathan Marefka, the project lead of the MSU Formula Racing team, where they have made their first electric vehicle. Nathan, do you want to tell us a little bit more about MSU's first electric racing car?
Yeah, this is the change we just made over the past 2 years. We come from a long history of internal combustion vehicles, but recently we've just shifted as the electric competition is growing rapidly. So we're jumping on the forefront of that. It's been a lot of trouble getting to work and everything with so many issues that we've run into with EMC, the battery pack, everything else in between. But yeah, it's finally here. It's been driving. It's been awesome to see the process.
And what do you have to do leading up to the racing season?
Yeah, so to give the synopsis where we are right now, we're currently finishing up the design phase, so all of our CAD, electronic digital versions of the vehicle are being finalized. Once that's completed, we move into manufacturing, so we'll start making all the components that you see on the vehicle behind us. And then once that gets set, after that we go into the testing period where we'll drive the car as much as possible to collect data and see how we can further optimize before the competition in June.
All right, and what does a typical racing season look like? What do you guys do to prepare for that, and how does it look throughout this whole season?
It's a lot of being on your toes. Last year we had issues happen the day before competition, like we could have something as severe as a drive shaft breaking or something on the wheel shearing directly off. It's just being ready to go and no matter what happens. So our racing season, actually competition-wise, is from June to the beginning of October. And that whole period we're either testing the vehicle, fixing if something goes wrong, or getting ready, loading up the trailer for another race coming up.
All right. Well, I think that's all I had for now. Thank you so much, Nathan.
Thank you.
And I look forward to seeing you out in the races.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks, Ryan. What a cool project.
And it ties in perfectly with sports. It's been a busy week for the green and white on the field and the court.
Good thing we have Focal Point's Jack David over in the newsroom this morning with more. Hey, Jack.
Thanks, Ava and Maddie. And you're absolutely right. It truly was a packed week for MSU sports. The football team hosted their last home game of the season. The men's basketball squad took place in a Spartan squared battle, and the women's basketball team faced a triad of opponents this week. Let's start on the gridiron, though, with green and white football. After the MSU defense forced a 3-and-out, they came out swinging with this 57-yard rushing touchdown from Elijah Tolliver on their first snap of that drive. This spark from Tolliver didn't last long, though, as the Nittany Lions responded with this 8-yard rushing touchdown by Katron Allen to even things up at 7. Penn State kept that momentum up as they scored on the 75-yard bomb to Devontae Ross, leading into a walk-in touchdown. Coming out of the halftime break, the blue and white dominated the ground game with this 9-minute and 5-second drive, which ended with Ross's second touchdown catch. In the fourth quarter, MSU was in scoring position, but Penn State got after Alicia Milivojevic for this 10-yard loss and fumble. The nail in the coffin was supplied by Allen on this 26-yard rushing touchdown. The final score of the game was 28-10 in favor of PSU, dropping MSU to 3-7. The Spartans will be back in action tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. as they head to Kinnick Stadium to take on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Moving now from the gridiron to the hardwood, the MSU men's basketball team had a really impressive week, starting last Thursday when they took on the San Jose State Spartans. MSU looked to stay undefeated as an electric Breslin crowd cheered them on. And what's a better way for the green and white to start a game than a Cohen Carr liftoff dunk? But that wasn't the only time Flight 55 took to the air in the game. He would have a couple of massive slams to kickstart a 16-2 run to start that game. Carson Cooper led the way in the opening frame as he had 12 first-half points to give the green and white 46 going into break. Cooper, which finished the night with a career-high 17, tied with his teammate Jackson Kohler, who was efficient from beyond the arc and tacked on 18 rebounds. San Jose State's Colby Garland would make it close with his tough and-one bucket. He would finish with a game-high 22 points on the night. However, after a couple of closing-minute Jeremy Fears threes, topped off by a reverse alley-oop slam by Cohen, Carr would put the finish on the game and make the final score 79-60 in favor of MSU. The Spartans look to continue that momentum into Madison Square Garden Tuesday night as they took on the number 12 ranked Kentucky Wildcats. And continue that momentum did they ever. Kohler, after putting up 17 last Thursday, dropped a game-high 20 points. Questions also have arisen regarding the starting two spot for MSU, but Kurt Tang and Trey Fort might have put those to sleep as they had 15 and 13 points respectively. The engine for the green and white offense in Jeremy Fears Jr. collected 18 points and 13 assists. He leads the nation in assists. Throw in some impressive performances by Cam Ward and Jesse McCullough, who had 8 points respectively, and MSU would come away with their biggest win of the year, taking down the Wildcats 83-66. The green and white will be back in action against the Detroit Mercy Titans at the Breslin Center tonight at 6:30 p.m. Let's stay with basketball here as we'll move from the men's team over to the women's team as they took on the Youngstown State Penguins last Wednesday. Despite a slow start for the Spartans, they started to quickly overpower the Penguins with a dominant offense, scoring 25 points in the first quarter. And here, take a look at Emma Shoemate. She switches in 3 triples in just the first 10 minutes of the game. She was a big reason for the offense coming out on fire. The green and white controlled the court, forcing 17 turnovers in the first half, and they would enter the locker room with a 22-point lead. Coming out of the break, Grace Van Sluten caught fire. She scored 13 points in the second half, putting MSU up by 44, its largest lead of the night. Van Sluten ended the night with 17 points, and Shoemate following close behind with 14 of her own. The Spartans would go on to win that game 96-52. The green and white had 2 more games this week between the Western Michigan Broncos and the Eastern Illinois Panthers. Let's start with the Broncos here. In that game, it really was Iceland Alexander's night. She had a career-high 20 points, and MSU would go on to beat the Broncos 98-44. And those victories just kept on coming as the Spartans moved over onto EIU. And it was Julian Woodard's night as she shined. She initially checked in the second half and ended with a game-high 17 points in just 14 minutes of play. This effort, along with 17 from Van Sluten and 15 rebounds from guard, Kennedy Blair, would propel the green and white to a 101-53 victory. They'll be back in action against the Oakland Golden Grizzlies this Sunday at 1:30 p.m. It's been a busy week for the MSU women's basketball team, just like how it's been a busy week for the MSU women's soccer team. Focal Point's Michaela Mazza has more.
Thanks, Jack. Things are pretty sweet here at DeMartin Field, where the Michigan State women's soccer team is moving on to the 3rd round in the Sweet 16 of the NCAA Women's Soccer Tournament. Last night, it was Kayla Briggs who was the hero for Michigan State. She popped one up over the Wake Forest goalie to give the Spartans the go-ahead goal, and from then on, they just really locked in defensively to close that game out with a 1-0 win over Wake Forest. Now, they will be facing off against the Colorado Buffalo, who last night had a 4-1 win against Xavier really dominated in that matchup. Now, this isn't the first time that these two teams will be meeting this season. They actually met in the beginning of the season and came out in a 1-1 draw. But Michigan State is going to be looking to make sure this time there's no possibility for a draw. Back to you in the newsroom.
Thanks, Michaela. To end things off here, let's take a look around at the rest of the MSU athletic world heading into the weekend. Tonight, the women's volleyball team heads to University Park to take on the Nittany Lions, and the hockey squad looks to continue that hot streak against the Wisconsin Badgers. Those games are happening at 7 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. respectively. The hockey team will then match up against the Badgers again on Saturday, this time at 7 p.m. On Sunday, the women's volleyball team is right back in action as they head to Columbus to take on the Ohio State Buckeyes at 12 p.m. And the third round of the women's soccer NCAA tournament will rage on at 1 p.m. that day. The men's basketball team has two games, both against Carolina opponents. On Tuesday, they play the East Carolina Pirates, and then on Thanksgiving, they match up against the North Carolina Tar Heels. Both those games will be taking place in Fort Myers, Florida. For the rest of the upcoming athletic schedule, check out the composite schedule to get a full breakdown. Thank you so much for letting me talk about sports for a few minutes. I hope you all enjoy your Thanksgiving, and I'll send it back to Maddie and Ava in the studio.
Thanks, Jack. There are so many student athletes here, including Focal Point's very own Laura Butlevics. She's competing in nationals with the women's club soccer team this weekend.
Yeah, good luck to her and her team. Laura, we're supporting you from afar.
And as for the rest of our MSU population, we're steering close to finals week, and students have their preferred study spots all over the Mid-Michigan community. One staple East Lansing study spot is the East Lansing Public Library. But from what Focal Point's Michaela Mazza was told, students might not be using the library's resources to their fullest extent. Take a look.
Libraries have such a really tangible effect in the community, and the fact that it just has something for every age and stage of life. My name is Gabby Kindig, she, they. I am the communications lead at the East Lansing Public Library. My mom found the listing for me. I have incredible coworkers. They're like the coolest people I've ever worked with. You know, everyone you interact with is just really invested in this community and really cares about it and cares about each other, and that makes it a really great place to work and visit. A few years back, we did a thing where you can now use your MSU student ID as a library card. We've seen a pretty big increase in MSU students using the library after that. You know, the MSU library is a fantastic research library. They're really wonderful, but there's not a lot of like books reading for fun there, you know. We also do have academic resources that you can use to help study. We have career development and exploration resources. You don't have to pay for Netflix. You can have Canopy for free with your library card. It's also just a place where you can like exist without having to spend money. So if you're looking for some place to study, you don't have to buy something at a coffee shop. You can just hang out here. We're in a time where things are really divisive, and you know, social media kind of thrives on contention. Even if your hometown is somewhere else, if you're here for school, you can be here. The more that people use it, the more we can show our numbers that, you know, the library matters and we should still continue to exist.
If you're interested in signing up for a library card, visit elpl.org, or you can also stop by in person.
And just like that, it's the holiday season, and every year we see examples of locals coming together to give back to their community. Focal Point's Amy Cho visited the Greater Lansing Potters Guild and shows how a hobby can help the community.
Tim Sim first picked up pottery in high school. And after taking a 35-year-long break, Sim jumped back into the hobby.
After a day of stressful work, I would go down to my studio and make pots, and it just calmed my whole body down.
At the Greater Lansing Potters Guild, pottery became a way for Sim and his daughter to bond.
My daughter, her husband was deployed to Iraq, and so she was looking for something to do.
For Candace Kohler, pottery offered something she enjoys, a chance to work with her hands.
I felt like pottery would be a really good release for me to have that as an opportunity, and I just really fell in love with it.
For artists like Kohler, pottery provides more than just a creative outlet. The hard work of these artists doesn't stop here at the studio. In fact, the bowls are the star of the show here at the Greater Lansing Food Bank. Partnered with the Potters Guild, the 35th annual Empty Bowls event took place to spread awareness about food insecurity and the food bank itself.
This year we invited attendees out to an open house style event at the Greater Lansing Food Bank warehouse, where you really have the opportunity to see your impact in action.
The collaboration provided a chance for the communities to come together in a meaningful way.
It's a really great opportunity for us to partner with local artists who want to give back and have an impact in their community.
Caitlin Cardoso says events like this drive changes forward.
Those small actions and community impacts, all of that added together is how we get to transformative change on a societal scale.
For these potters, the Empty Bowls event encourages collaborations that make a difference.
I think it just kind of builds a really nice domino effect of people giving back.
In Lansing, Amy Cho, Focal Point News.
Ways to make a difference at the Greater Lansing Food Bank this holiday season and beyond can be found over on their website.
And on behalf of the crew here at Focal Point News, we hope all of you have a great holiday season. This has been our last Focal Point broadcast of 2025.
Yeah, we've got our crew and cast coming out here to say goodbye. We also have some more of our crew members who are out on live shot today. Two of them, their names are Ryan Morris and Will Mile. They're graduating this semester. There they are. There they are. You can see them now. They're still out on live shot, but just wanted to say goodbye too. But on behalf of all of us out here in the studio, we just want to say thank you so much for all of your support. Whether you've watched one of our broadcasts or all of them throughout the whole semester, thanks for watching.
So for the last time this semester and for all of 2025, have a great weekend, Spartans. Go green.
Go white.